Hey guys, Mr. Isley here for the final section of our Chapter D notes dealing with decimals. And this is all about how to convert a decimal into a percentage. So how we take a decimal into a percentage. And really all you're doing, just to kind of tie it back into what we just finished up about powers of 10, is really all you're doing is multiplying that decimal by 100. So we're using that multiplication of a power of 10 by 100, but I'll kind of show you a quick cheat way just to do it very quickly to move it from a decimal number to a percentage. So really two steps to this. First thing you're going to do is you're going to move the decimal point 2 places to the right. So it's going to move 2 places to the right because, again, if we were to count those zeros, that's 1, 2. And when we multiply by a power of 10, it moves that many spots. So we're just going to move 2 places to the right. It's always going to be that way when going from a decimal to a percentage. Now, you may have to add zeros to the right, as we learned. And so make sure that if you don't have 2 spots to the right, you add a 0 in there or however many you need to get there. Second step, add a percent symbol at the end. So you're going to write the percentage symbol at the end. Make sure you drop any unnecessary zeros that are on the far left. And if they ask you to round it, make sure that you round your final answer. All right, so let's take a look. We've got 4 examples here. First example, example A, we've got the number 0.67, and they want us to turn it into a percent. So first things first, we're going to move this decimal place 2 places to the right. So now it's going to be on the right side of the 7. So that would be my new number, 67. And then second step, we're going to add a percent. So 0.67 is equivalent to 67%. All right, so example B, we're going to do the same thing. So first things first, move the decimal place point 2 places to the right. So 1, 2. I end up with 0.95. Well, I noticed that right there I need to add a percent, but I also need to drop unnecessary zeros to the far left. Well, anytime we have a 0 on our far left end and the decimal place is over to the right, we need to make sure to drop that off. So that's going to go away, and this becomes 95, add my percentage sign, 95%. All right, so example C, you try that one on your own and then check your answer with mine. So first thing I need to do is move the decimal point 2 places to the right. Well, I notice I only have 1 decimal place to the right of my decimal point, so I'm going to add a 0 as needed, and now I can move it 2 spots. So 1, 2, and that turns my final answer into 150%. All right, final example here. Try this one on your own as well. So 0.327. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to move it 2 decimal places to the right. So 1, 2. Move the decimal point 2 place values to the right, excuse me. Then I notice that I've now got a 0 on the far left with some numbers before I hit my decimal point, so I'm going to get rid of that. And I see that I have 32 and then my decimal place, then a 7%, 32.7%. And that's completely fine because they didn't tell us to round it. You can still have a decimal place in your percentage. All right, we just got to make sure that we've multiplied that number by 100 to get there, or we did the quick little trick of just moving that decimal point 2 places to the right. Now, if they were to ask us to round this to a whole percentage, then this would become 33%. But they didn't ask that, so all we need to do is move that decimal point 2 places to the right, drop that unnecessary 0 to the left to get our final answer. All right, and that's how we convert from a decimal to a percentage. But now we also need to understand how we do the vice versa. So how do we convert a percentage into a decimal? So 2-step approach for this, really the same as dividing by a power of 10, which is 100. So really what we're doing is dividing by 100. But the quick cheating way to do it without having to show all of that work is we just know that we need to move the decimal point 2 places to the left. So much like dividing by 100, that decimal place gets moved 2 places to the left. We can add zeros as needed to the left, so you may have to add a 0 to get there. And then second step, remove the percentage sign because we don't want a percent anymore. We're looking for just the decimal, so make sure you remove that percent symbol. And then remove any unnecessary zeros that end up on the far right. And that can happen at times, so make sure you check for that. All right, so 4 examples here, starting with example A, we've got 45%. Well, I don't see a decimal place. Well, when we remember with that is that really means there's a decimal point after the 5. It'd be like 45.0% or 45%. So that's how we know where it is. So if you don't see a decimal place, that means it's at the far right of the number. So first thing I need to do is I need to move it 2 spots to the left. So I'm going to move that 1, 2. So I should end up with 0.45 or 45 hundredths if we wanted to say it that way. I get rid of my percent symbol. No unnecessary zeros to the far right. So that is my final answer. All right, so example B, again, I don't see a decimal point, so it goes on the far right. And now I need to move that 2 places to the left. So I'm going to move that 1, 2, and I end up with 2.50 when I remove the percent symbol. But remember, remove any unnecessary zeros on the far right. This is an unnecessary zero, so final answer is actually 2.5. All right, now you try example C on your own, then check your answer with mine. Again, I don't see a decimal point in this percentage, so it goes on the far right. Then I need to move it 2 places to the left. So final answer here is 0.23. You could also write 0.23. That would be fine as well. All right, in example D, try this final one on your own and then check your answer with mine. All right, again, no decimal place in this percentage shown, so I'm going to place it on the far right. Then I need to move it 2 spots to the left, so 1, 2, which makes this number 3.10. But I have an unnecessary zero on the far right, so get rid of that. So simplest form is 3.1. All right, well, hopefully that's pretty simple to remember. Just remember when you're converting from a decimal to a percent, that's like doing a power of 10 with that power of 10 being 100. When you're moving from a percentage to a decimal, that's like dividing by a power of 10, which is 100. So we can do quick cheats and just remember when we're going from decimal to percent, we're moving decimal points to the right. When we are going from percent to a decimal, we're moving it to the left. All right, well, that should conclude your Chapter D notes. As always, if you have any additional questions, please feel free to let me know. Otherwise, you've got what you need to finish your final worksheet in your packet.